amac.us. On this Wednesday, as you may know, I am just back from 7 days in California. Now, back in the 1960s, when the mamas and the papas were California dreaming, things were different out there. The state was considered by many to be safe and warm. Ronald Reagan was the political power. Johnny Carson provided late-night laughs from Burbank. Obviously, things have changed. First off, most working people have very little money. Titanic housing costs and taxes take most of it. And don't even ask about gas prices. So California Mellow has morphed into passive-aggressive displays. You see it everywhere. The folks understand their fate. You'll survive, but not prosper. That creates seething resentment and rabid entitlement. You owe me, where's mine? For example, California bicycle Nazis are everywhere, and they're not hugging the sides of streets. They own the streets. No pullover strategy at all. They are disciples of climate change, and you driving your Tahoe are evil. I call them the third bike. Historical reference. Nevertheless, California nature is stunning, even though there's no water. They give you a thimble in restaurants because H2O is running out. All in all, I had a good time in California. The surf is still up out there occasionally, but the tide is definitely going out. Back after this. Many timeshare owners are very upset because their yearly dues have nearly doubled. Well, Lone Star will guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. With their A-plus rating at the Better Business Bureau, clients know that Lone Star Transfer is a company you can trust. For a free consultation, please go to LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
Once it starts growing, it won't stop until it gets removed. Mold in your home or business can be deadly. And if you discover it, you'll need two things: a team of experts and a fast response. You'll need ServiceMaster of Columbia. Not only will ServiceMaster remove the mold, they'll help you figure out how it got there in the first place. So don't wait to mitigate.
Hi, this is Adam Kinzer, the Master of Disaster Recovery with ServiceMaster of Columbia. Call the man in the yellow van at 443-8383.
To a lot of people, they're real-life superheroes. They respond in a flash, rescuing those in need, making bad situations better with special powers, unique skills, and an awesome set of tools. Some say they're lifesavers, but to most, they're simply known as Master Tech. Saving the day, one drain, pipe, sewer, furnace, or AC unit at a time. Master Tech Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. The coolest number on the planet, 777-7777. Master Technicians, mighty super people who in life hands you an adventure.
News, analysis, opinion. We're 93.9 The Eagle, KSSC, Fayette, Columbia, a free service of Zimmer Communications.
More firepower for Ukraine. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Biden says the new weapons systems being sent to Ukraine's military are meant to be used within the country, not to strike targets in Russia.
In a guest essay in the New York Times, President Biden said he's decided to give more advanced rocket systems and munitions to Ukraine, enabling them to more precisely strike key targets. U.S. officials are saying those are expected to be medium-range rockets, which can travel about 45 miles.
Fox's Jill Nato. The funerals this morning for Irma and Joe Garcia, one of two teachers shot and killed at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, and her husband, who died of a heart attack 2 days later. There's a funeral this afternoon for one of the 19 children killed, 10-year-old Jose Manuel Flores Jr. The first two funerals for the shooting victims were yesterday, with more to come over the next couple of weeks. A jury in Washington, D.C. took 6 hours to acquit an attorney with ties to the 2016 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. Its foreman saying politics were not a factor in the decision.
The jury finding Michael Sussman not guilty.
I told the truth to the FBI.
and the jury clearly recognized that with their unanimous verdict today.
Sussman in 2016 went to the FBI and said he had information linking the Trump Organization to Russia, information that did not pan out. Special counsel John Durham says Sussman lied when he said he brought the information to the FBI as a concerned citizen, not as a lawyer working on behalf of the Clinton campaign. Ultimately, jurors felt differently.
Fox's Brooks Singman. A man trying to find and sell Frisbees from a public park lake in Largo, Florida, is found dead with an arm torn off, presumably by an alligator. The lake is adjacent to a disc golf course, and some of those players use more expensive discs than the kind you'd get at a supermarket or a dollar store. A parks director says the man was a transient who'd been warned in April not to go in that lake or he'd be banned. This would be the first fatal alligator attack in Florida since 2019. America's listening to Fox News.
It's the perfect season for a powerful business upgrade with Dell Technologies Summer Sale Event. Save up to 45% on secure PCs built for business with Windows 10 Pro. You'll also find great savings on Dell servers, monitors, docks, and other accessories to help boost productivity. Plus, enjoy free shipping on everything. Do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL for business specials during Dell's Summer Sale Event.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Rising home values mean that you could have more home equity than you might imagine. And if you're considering a refi, an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot could save you thousands. Ask about their smart term loans, cash out, and over 300 loan options to find just the right mortgage loan for you. Call now, 866-888-LOAN, or go to loandepot.com. Loan Depot, where home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
And now award-winning local
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:03 and Robinson saves you time. 65 right now in Columbia. Mostly cloudy skies. We have had heavy rain in most of the listening area overnight. Some of that continues right now. There are some flash flood warnings in effect. We'll touch on those in a moment. For today, here's the good news, folks. There is no major severe weather threat in our area today. There is some in southern Missouri, well outside of our listening area. But we will see showers. Some of them will be heavy at times today. Our high 73. Cloudy skies tonight. Chance of storms low near 56. And finally, some more sunshine tomorrow on your Thursday with a high of 75 degrees. The cool front moving through right now as we speak. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in this 6 o'clock hour. Flash flood warnings remain in effect this morning for several mid-Missouri counties. That is due to the heavy rain that continued overnight into this morning. National Weather Service St. Louis meteorologist Mark Britt tells 93.9 The Eagle the flash flood warning for Cooper, Howard, and Saline counties continues through 8 this morning. About 2 hours from now, flood warning for Monroe County, which includes Madison and Paris, is in effect for about another hour. That one expires at 7 o'clock. There is no bomb this morning for a man who allegedly came to the Missouri Capitol wanting to show Governor Parson a gun.
The man accused of bringing a gun to the state capitol will stay in jail pending a hearing. Alok Arora allegedly told Capitol police officers he wanted to show the gun to Governor Mike Parson. He's charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. Aurora has a hearing scheduled for later this month. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
All right, John, thank you. Tennessee court documents obtained by 93.9 The Eagle reveal few details about Friday's murder of a Columbia Rockbridge High School communicator at a rest stop near Chattanooga, Tennessee. The 3-page court document obtained by 93.9 The Eagle says that Micah McElmurray killed his father, quote, by shooting him at least one time, end of quote, at the I-24 rest area. It's about 15 miles from the Tennessee-Georgia border. The TBI says Michael Woods Jr. was pronounced dead in a rest area bathroom. Court documents say the suspect had a revolver when he was detained by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Hundreds of people turning out for a Memorial Day vigil for Mr. Woods. That one took place at the Rockbridge Football Stadium. Difficulty getting witnesses to testify has caused the postponement of a high-profile Columbia murder trial that was scheduled to begin next Tuesday. 18-year-old Isaiah Jackson is charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder for the July 2020 deaths of Tara Knedler and an 11-year-old child. You might recall the story happened after the 4th of July 2020, a dispute involving fireworks and fireworks landing near a home nearby. Boone County Assistant Prosecutor Spencer Smith says the prosecution has been unable to subpoena multiple essential witnesses to move forward with this case. He adds they need more time to get it done. Mr. Smith also tells the Eagle in shooting cases it is common for witnesses to be reluctant to come forward and testify. Court documents indicate Jackson and at least one man from the home shooting the fireworks fired shots during the incident. The other man quoted in documents is saying that Jackson fired first. Jackson is quoted by police as saying he didn't remember who fired the first shot, but that he indeed did fire his gun. And a state lawmaker who chairs the Missouri Senate Economic Development Committee is blaming what he calls greedy casinos for the legislature's failure to approve sports wagering this year. Warrensburg State Senator Denny Hoskins tells 93.9 The Eagle 3 different compromise bills were presented to Missouri's professional sports teams this year, the Players Associations and the casinos.
The most recent and last compromise that we offered, all the professional sports teams were in agreement, and they wanted to accept the deal, and one of the casinos wanted to accept the deal as well. Unfortunately, the casinos decided that they did not want to accept the deal.
He says his bill would have raised $40 to $50 million from Missouri State veterans' homes and cemeteries. We'll hear more from Chairman Hoskins coming up at the bottom of the hour. News is brought to you in the 6 o'clock hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning. For all of your cooling needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:07. In sports, the Cardinals beat San Diego Tuesday night, 10 innings, Busch Stadium, 3-2 the final, game-winning manufacturing runs, if you will. That's how Whitey Herzog used to do it, and it works. Albert Pujols had a sacrifice fly in the 10th inning, wins it for the Cardinals. They're now 28-21. Cardinals have a chance to sweep a very good San Diego team today. First pitch, 93.9 The Eagle at 12:15. If you're heading to the game, be prepared because rain is in the forecast all day today in the St. Louis area. Hopefully they'll be able to get the game in. We're not expecting anything severe, but it could come down heavy at times today. Cleveland beat the Royals last night 8-3. Guardians had a 3-run homer from Austin Hedges in the game. Russellville and St. Elizabeth boys baseball teams capturing state championships in baseball, classes 1 and 2 respectively. Southern Boone on their way down to Ozark to play today against Marshall. Good luck to them as well. And as we reported last hour, a July 12th bench trial is scheduled for former Mizzou offensive coordinator Derek Dooley's lawsuit against the UM Board of Curators. You'll recall he sued, saying that he is owed $925,000. University and he will go to trial. Bench trial July the 12th. Our sports brought to you by Witt Print Shop, 608. All right, John, thanks so much. We almost received a full inch of rain yesterday, 0.9 inches at Sanborn Field. Here in Columbia, it is raining, 65. 609 traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Our roads right now are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
So the best way to get something done, if you hold near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're waiting.
All right.
Branden, how are you? Can you hear me?
I'm doing all right, Joe. Can you hear us? Can you hear Steph? Steph, can you yak Joe real quick?
Hey, Joe.
Hauswirth, you want to say hello to Joe real quick?
Hello.
Hannah?
Hello.
Can you hear us, Joe? Can you hear the American people? Do you see the approval ratings? And not just you. We know how piss poor your ratings are. We know that, and they have been almost since January 20th, 2021. And people are upset about the direction of the country. You're misguided, and you focus on the wrong things. Can you hear us, Joe? Do you see people think the country is going in the wrong direction in overwhelming numbers? Pick a poll, any poll you want. They have been consistent since 1/20/21. Can you hear us? Do you hear the American people? Biden reporting. Listen, everybody's against him. We're going to talk about how this affects us here in mid-Missouri. This is not about picking on some old guy who's obviously got some memory issues. I don't know if it's onset Alzheimer's or what. But this affects all of us because, listen, here's what you know what the polling means, country headed in the wrong direction. You know what that means? That means generally, as Americans, we don't feel good about things. And that affects our psyche, and I believe that with every ounce of my soul collectively, and we can hang our hats on all the patriotic stuff and love of our country, and yes, there is still that. But then there's reality, and the reality is we are doing poorly under Joe's leadership, and it's what's startling to everybody, not people much smarter than myself, startled at how quickly the downfall has been. And this affects us right here in mid-Missouri. I mean, think about it. You've got high gas prices. People can't find baby formula. Groceries are skyrocketing. Natural gas prices. Diesel. Cost of diesel to get those goods to us and to get them to places like Mosier's and the local grocery stores. That's going up. So then grocery prices go up again. And is what that does. That's how it affects us. Wrong direction of the country when you have an incredible percentage of the people in America that think America is headed in the wrong direction. That affects us. And it affects not just the high prices that you're paying for everything, and it's not just the uncertainty, and it's not just the embarrassment when we have this guy on a worldwide stage. It's all of this stuff, and it affects how we feel. And I believe that. And I'll go back to 2 weeks ago. Stephanie Bell, God bless your soul, here on the show, crying because you're having to explain to your little kids, hey, listen, since January 20th of 2021, we're having to make some significant changes in the Bell household. That, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how this guy being president, that's how it affects you. That's how it affects 3 little kids that live in Ashland and a husband and hundreds of thousands of other people. These are real life consequences because how on earth this guy ever got elected? Fraud. I don't know. It just blows me away, and it has real life consequences.
Yeah, and I'm not a crier, but I did get choked up, and I think the thing for me is that parents, you always want to raise your kid in a world that's better than the world that you grew up in. And so far, I don't feel like my kids have had that experience. And as a parent, feeling like you are unable to give that to your kid going forward is a really hard reality to face every day. And whether it be you can't play with your friends or on the playground because the government has told us that we can't do that, you can't go to school, is a scary world for kids to grow up in. And then also to have to counsel the kid through, hey, if you're going to buy a house, here's what the rate on your mortgage is going to be. Things that I never had to experience, things that I don't know how to counsel someone through. And so, the world is just, as they become young adults, it's going to be such a different place that I don't feel prepared to parent through that.
This is how it affects us. It's just people picking on the president. No, these are real life effects. And if you know somebody that voted for Biden and they're complaining about gas prices and complaining that they can't find baby formula and they're complaining about the cost of groceries and they're complaining about the uncertainty and they're in tears because they're having the same conversations that Stephanie Bell had with her kids, please tell them listen to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, and we'll explain it to them like they're 2 years old and why this matters that he is president. It's not just people talking. Listen, no matter who the president is, you know what the number one thing to talk about? The president. Everybody likes to complain about the president, regardless of who the president is. But this stuff is for real, man. It is right front and center. It is in our face this morning. And now Biden is mystified. His approval rating is so low. He doesn't understand. And this is from the White House. President Joe Biden is frustrated. His midterm messaging isn't resonating with voters. And I don't like to do whataboutism, but everybody else does, so I won't compare his approval ratings to Donald Trump. Spoiler alert, they're lower than Trump's, but we don't do that here. He's upset and mystified that people in his own party, he's upset with the Democrat Party that they're not going to television to defend him more. You can't defend what he's doing. Stacey Abrams, she was campaigning in Georgia. No, Joe, that's all right. You don't need to come. And the guy is mystified. He doesn't understand why.
He doesn't understand a lot of things. Just saying.
And he's baffled. And then he's frustrated that he's not getting credit from Americans or the news outlets, because CNN and MSNBC, to an extent, have finally been getting honest and presenting real stories about this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And he doesn't understand, amongst a lot of other things, doesn't understand that. November 2021. So what was this, 6 months ago? This is Joe Biden talking about poll numbers. Ask the reporter, because his poll numbers, months into his days, I'd venture to say days, at least with the Afghanistan thing, where he killed American service men and women because of what he did in Afghanistan, which then made Russia perk up and go, hey, look at what Joe did in Afghanistan. That was an incredible mess. Now is a good time for us to invade Ukraine. That's why your gas prices are high. Joe asked about his poll number. So at the time when we played this back in November, it was kind of like, okay. Today, with context, it's almost hilarious. This is November the 9th, 2021. So we're talking roughly 6-7 months ago.
I think what you're going to see is the combination of what I did in the beginning.
By the way, I should clarify, he's being asked specifically about his poor polling numbers then.
In terms of the Recovery Act, and then this legislation, as well as the legislation that we're about to pass, God willing, on what's called Build Back Better, everything from.
Hey, things are bad now, but we're going to pass Build Back Better, which didn't happen. We're going to do this, and that didn't happen.
I think all that's going to have a significant impact on ordinary Americans.
You're right. All that crap has had a significant impact on Americans, but he's hopeful.
Like the households I came from, that in fact are going to change their circumstance.
Yep. That is true. It has changed. Very few lives right now untouched by the poor policies of the President of the United States of America and his staff. And these are all just facts. You can, if you're new to the show and you're going, oh, come on, they're just doing that to rail on the president. No, you can look all of this stuff up on yourself. And then yesterday, Biden reversing course on sending rockets to Ukraine. Well, apparently everybody wants me to do it. There was a lot of smart people in America that said, hey, you don't have to send troops, but maybe you could do this. Nope, not doing it. Oh, it's what the American people wants? Okay, I'm going to do it. And now Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she concedes. And I want to say this. We always say, anybody who can come forward and admit, I've made a mistake, I was wrong. I think there's a lot of power in that. Where I start to fall away from that is when you have people telling you, but we don't think you're handling it right now, and their arrogance or their stupidity gets in the way of good decision making that will benefit you and benefit that regretful Biden voter and benefit this person and benefit this mom and these grandparents. When you're told that, when you know that going in, yet you still make the decision, then The whole thing that I like to talk about, hey, there's a lot of power in admitting you were wrong. There is a lot of power in admitting you made a mistake. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, yeah, I misread the threat of inflation. That's a huge mistake. That's like standing up outside of a school for almost an hour before you go in and try to take out an active killer. Yeah, we just misread the rising inflation. We misread it. Janet Yellen going, oh, that's my bad. No, you had people telling you. These are incredibly serious decisions that should be handled by the brightest, bestest minds in the world, not woke people that want to use, transgender terms and figure this stuff out and figure that out. No, you want the best, and that's who's elected. It's just people woke. Well, we need to love yeah, we do need to love everybody, but it doesn't mean we got to do this. They're more worried about woke causes than things that really, listen, you want to be identified as a chick or a dude, I don't care. I'm going to call you whatever your name is, whatever you are. That's not real stuff. You paying more for groceries and at the pump, and you having conversations in tears with your kids about why things are so bad right now. That is real. Please, anybody you know that voted for Biden, and maybe they're not regretful, I would tell them tune into this show anyway. And if they are regretful, that's what we're here for. Since January 20th, 2021, helping regretful Biden voters. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Columbia. One of the folks who wants to change things there, Billy Long, running for U.S. Senate, currently a congressman, rep Southwest Missouri. He's here. 7:35 this morning. Is there an appetite for any kind of change as it relates to gun laws? He's going to be talking about that 7:35 this morning. Meanwhile, we're just minutes away from the daily D.C. Rundown with Stephanie Bell. What do you got for us this morning?
Well, the Supreme Court with a surprise decision
Wake up Columbia with an eye on the world and a focus on you. 93.9 The Eagle.
Lessons I have learned in the passing, bridges I have burned along the way.
Any idea who that is? Well, I give you a second to think about it here in the Daily D.C. Rundown. Do want to let you know we're going to get into the Supreme Court stuff on a ruling they passed down yesterday. Interesting ruling. Even more interesting than the ruling was who voted for what. We're going to do that coming up about 6:35. Anybody figure out who that dude is singing? John Hinckley Jr., guy who tried assassinating President Reagan a lot of years ago.
And who's been living full-time in Virginia under a bunch of restrictions since 2016. Apparently, he has to allow officials access to his electronic devices and his email accounts. He can't travel where he knows there's going to be someone protected by the Secret Service. He has to give 3 days notice if he travels more than 75 miles, although he has been kind of giving some concerts.
So that's him singing. He's going, and people are hiring to come, and he's playing these little acoustic concerts.
So there's a hearing coming up before a federal judge who is set to basically release him from all restrictions. The judge has said Hinckley, who turned 67, has no symptoms of active mental illness, no violent behavior, and no interest in weapons, apparently. So maybe he will be a free man?
Maybe.
And you can attend his concert. Joe Biden, as Brandon, you said earlier, has reversed his course on rockets for Ukraine. The Biden administration said yesterday they're going to send a small number of high-tech, medium-range rockets over to Ukraine. We've all, what was it, $40 billion? And so they were releasing the items in the $700 million security assistance. It also includes helicopter, Javelin anti-tank weapon systems, tactical vehicles. I mean, I thought the whole thing was not to send a message to Russia that we were really involved.
It's like Keystone Cops at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that's your daily DC Rundown on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live. Watch live. Go to the YouTube channel, 93.9 The Eagle. Would love to have you watch. SCOTUS ruling yesterday could affect your social media, and the odd ruling in this case coming up 5 minutes from now.
If you're having a problem with ants, mosquitoes, or any other type of pest, don't worry, because you have a friend in the pest control business, Steve's Pest Control. Find them online at stevespestcontrol.com and get your problem solved today.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. The price of gas hits another high, $4.67 a gallon for regular nationally, according to AAA.
Give drivers a break on skyrocketing gas prices. Democrat Congressman Adam Schiff proposing the federal gas tax of about 18 cents a gallon be suspended. He'd offset the loss in revenues by slapping a 50% tax on oil industry profits. Schiff claiming big oil companies are gouging consumers.
Fox's Jack Callahan.
Republican National Committee spokesperson Hallie Balch responding, California Democrats are all talk and no action, especially when it comes to reducing the extreme costs at the pump.
And comedian Bill Cosby once again facing sex abuse allegations as a civil trial begins in California, stemming from the lawsuit of a woman who alleges he forced her to perform a sex act at the Playboy Mansion in 1975 when she was 16. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31. Robinson saves you time. 65 right now. Light rain falling in mid-Missouri. We're expecting showers, storms today. Nothing severe here in central Missouri. Our high 73. Chance of rain tonight, low near 56. Finally, some sunshine tomorrow. 75 for a high as a cool front is moving through. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. Boonville, Bunston, Fayette, Marshall. Those are just some of the towns in the 93.9 The Eagle listening area impacted by flash flood warnings. They are in effect right now in Cooper, Howard, Saline counties through 8 this morning, Monroe County through 7 this morning, Be careful in those areas, especially on the rural and gravel roads with all the heavy rain that fell here in Columbia. Almost 1 full inch of rain falling in the last 24 hours, Sanborn Field. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation tells 93.9 The Eagle the investigation into Friday's murder of a Rockbridge High School employee at a rest stop near Chattanooga remains active and ongoing at this time. 55-year-old Michael Woods shot and killed in a restroom, according to the TBI, by his 30-year-old son, Michael McElmurray. A veteran Missouri lawmaker is frustrated by the legislature's failure to pass sportsbook and sports wagering. State Senator Denny Hoskins of Warrensburg wants a solution to fully fund Missouri's veteran homes and cemeteries and also help education.
I definitely want to see the money raised from this go to education and veterans' homes and veterans' cemeteries. We had to supplement our veterans' homes and cemeteries up to $39 million for the next fiscal year.
And witness issues delaying a Columbia murder trial scheduled to begin next week. The case involving Isaiah Jackson. News is brought to you by Mid-America Mortgage, 633. Turning our attention now to sports. We'll start with the Cardinals. We are your home for Cardinal baseball. The Cardinals beat San Diego last night, 10 innings at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, 3-2. Albert Pujols had the game-winning RBI, a sacrifice fly in the 10th inning to help win it for St. Louis. They improved now to 28-21. Cardinals go for the sweep today against San Diego. First pitch on 93.9. The Eagle is set for 12:15. It's a businessman special at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Cleveland beat the Royals last night, 8-3. Guardians had a 3-run homer from Austin Hedges in the ballgame. And in high school baseball, what a job, what baseball we have here in mid-Missouri. St. Elizabeth and Russellville, as Rod Smith pointed out, Show Me Conference looking pretty good across the state. St. Elizabeth wins their 4th state championship, Class 1. Russellville boys, and Russellville, by the way, is down in the Jeff City area, rural Cole County. They win Class 2 in the boys championship game, so they're coming home with state championship titles. Southern Boone taking on Marshall today, 1 o'clock in Ozark. Big send-off for the Southern Boone players, and good luck to them. Marshall in our area as well. Our sports brought to you this hour by Mid-America Mortgage, 634. And our traffic check is presented by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job opening or post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. Just a reminder again, we have several flood warnings, flash flood warnings still in effect in our area, listening area, and they are to the west and north of Columbia. Cooper, Howard, Saline through 8. Monroe County, we have a lot of listeners there. Paris is impacted by this. Middle Grove is part of this as well. There's a lot of rural roads there that have streams. So if you're driving in those areas, especially the farmers, be very careful this morning because there will be water on the road. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Women's health constitutes a grave breach of judicial ethics and a deliberate attack on the independence of the Supreme Court. This legislation is now, unfortunately, a necessary step to discourage future such attempts.
And we have something new this morning that you might want to be interested in as it relates to the leak over the potential Roe v. Wade decision. We're going to do that here in just a few minutes. But first, Stephanie casting a wicked eye on the way the Supreme... So it's not just what the Supreme Court voted on yesterday, it's how they voted. So here's the thing. Texas. It was a Texas law that would have said, hey, listen, social media platforms, you can't be moderating content because we know what you're doing. You're moderating stuff that doesn't agree with you. As a matter of fact, they're letting school shootings getting shown on social media because the moderators are too busy. Oh, somebody didn't use the proper pronoun for this female transgender person. And they're letting stuff like school shootings being shown on social media while they're concerned about transgender misgendering. Well, that's what they're worried about. Anyhow, so Texas had a law says, listen, you can't moderate content. You got to be equal, and that's the big issue. You're not being equal. We know what you moderate. We have seen it. A lot of times conservative viewpoints they get knocked off of social media. We've seen movies like What Killed Michael Brown got knocked off of Amazon.com because you know why that movie What Killed Michael Brown got kicked off of online streaming platforms? There was nothing, absolutely nothing unfactual in it. It was all truths, but it didn't portray this narrative. Cops are bad. The kid was black. That's why he got shot. Dude, he didn't get shot because he was black. He got shot because this big kid was giving the cop a run for his money. But it doesn't fit the narrative. And then the social media and these websites, they pull that stuff off because it doesn't agree with what I think. And if there's anything that I hate more than somebody misgendering somebody or using the wrong pronoun, the only thing I hate more is when somebody has a differing point of view than I do.
So tech companies challenge shows the Texas law. It was signed by Governor Abbott, I think, last fall. Tech companies went ahead and challenged the law, saying that it violates their First Amendment right to control what speech appears on their own platforms. They also said, that it would cause them problems in trying to remove things like hate speech or violent videos and those kinds of things. Initially, I think the lower court had allowed the law to go ahead and go into effect. The tech companies asked the Supreme Court to block the law, and the Supreme Court did. And so it's not an opinion of the Supreme Court. It's kind of, some people call it the shadow docket. But they make these decisions on whether or not the laws, basically while the case is proceeding, whether the law will go into effect or not. But that obviously is a huge deal because they've blocked the law. And the way, as you said, that the votes actually came down is important.
And we're going to get into that. Hannah, how many times has Wake Up Columbia been kicked off of social media platforms?
Once.
Once?
Yep.
Not completely kicked off. We got a suspension for a while.
Yeah, that's the one time I'm talking about.
We got a warning before that. Sometimes our video feeds have been cut from Facebook.
Yeah, that's usually my fault, though.
That's right. Somebody else's fault. I'm a Democrat right now. It's not my fault. It's everybody else's fault.
Sometimes if I forget to push a button, we get flagged on Facebook.
And so we've been kicked off of social media before. We've had video feeds stopped on social media before, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Facebook. I think we've all had a friend who it's almost a badge of honor to get kicked off, to get blocked on Facebook or YouTube.
Unless you have a special YouTube-only event planned for that week. Then it's not much a badge of honor.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. We got suspended or something. We had a special YouTube-only event here on Wake. It was the Homeless Forum. It was a forum on homeless families. And we had a homeless guy all planned and a homeless family that had recovered from being unhoused or whatever the correct term is this month, and folks that were trying to help homelessness because it's something I'm passionate about. I think a lot of people in city government that have your taxpayer dollars are completely mishandling it. But we had this forum, and we had to cancel. And I think I lied to the folks about why it was rescheduled. So it happens, and this stuff, it happens to you too. And even more interesting, it was the way in which the justices, the way in which the votes came out.
Right. So 3 of the court's conservatives, Chief Justice John Roberts, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, joined 2 of the more liberal justices, Justice Stephen Breyer and Sonia Sotomayor, in voting to block the law. On the other side, Clarence Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, with Kagan, dissented. And so we didn't get reasoning from the majority for why they chose to block the law. There was an opinion, I think written by Alito, a 6-page dissent on why he thinks the intervention at this point is premature. And we've seen that before. The court, people have asked the court to block a law, and they've said, hey, we're not really talking about the merits, but intervening at this point is premature. And sometimes you see that before the election, and the court's kind of like, you know what, at this point, we're too close to the election. We're going to, let the election happen. Or with redistricting, sometimes the timing is an issue. And here they said, we're going to go ahead and intervene and we're going to block the law. And so that was really where the dissenters came down. So it was a timing issue, which maybe isn't always a conservative liberal issue, I think, but still very interesting because, ultimately the underlying issues in this case about social media and First Amendment are huge, groundbreaking issues. And, we talk about, and I think, something that's interesting in this case, we talk about the Second Amendment, right? And liberals right now are talking about, well, back in the old days when the founders, when we first got the Second Amendment, things were really different. We didn't have AR-15s. And so, their whole argument seems to be, well, the world's changed, and so the amendment applies differently. Well, one of the issues now is, when we got the First Amendment, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter. So how do the amendments, continue to apply in a world that looks very different? And that's kind of one of the questions I think that the court's going to have to grapple with here.
And I think the other interesting thing is, remember, we were going to have this information czar, the decider of what truth is. The Supreme Court is saying, hey, this thing that was going to ban Facebook and Twitter from moderating posts, isn't that kind of what the misinformation, disinformation czar, Nina Jankowicz, wanted to do?
Yeah, and I think, for a lot of conservatives who lean more libertarian, I think that is, one of the deciding factors and fundamental principles in my decision-making about the government is who gets to decide what the truth is. And I think for a lot of liberals, they think the government should decide. There should be some information czar. They get to decide. And I think, again, I'll go back to the Second Amendment, and as we're starting to debate things like the red flag laws, that's where I have a problem. It's not that I don't think there are people who are crazy who probably shouldn't have access to a gun, but right now what liberals are saying is the government gets to decide who's crazy enough that gets their guns taken away. And for me, that is scary because we're giving the government more power. And so they're saying, well, for red flag law, I get to go tattle on somebody that I think's crazy, and then the courts or the government will say, yep, that person's crazy enough that they shouldn't get guns. And so for me, that's where I struggle with these things. I don't want the government saying what the truth is. I don't want the government necessarily telling me whether I'm crazy or not, because based on some of my past beliefs, the government, some people in the government already think I'm crazy. So these are big bedrock foundational principles that are really going to shape, how our lives are going forward.
By the way, Senators Blunt and Senators Hawley have been calling for red flag law and some harsher penalties as it relates to gun control. Congressman Billy Long, who is running to replace Senator Blunt, he's going to be joining us 7:35 this morning. More Supreme Court news this morning. So the leak, Roe v. Wade, again, not specifically a decision, although very likely. Supreme Court is telling their law clerks, hey, you got to hand over your cell phone records, and you've got to sign some affidavits in the search for this leak. They're going to require its law clerks to provide cell phone records, sign affidavits, as the nation's highest court is investigating the leak of a draft opinion that would overturn this Roe v. Wade. This could be an unprecedented move, and that's the thing, because it's important. Supreme Court somebody leaked something from the Supreme Court of the United States, but what if you're a clerk, had nothing to do with it? I don't want you seeing what's on my cell phone. That's my cell phone. Some clerks apparently so alarmed over the moves, particularly the sudden requests for private cell data. I don't think whoever leaked this, by the way, unless you go and get records that would show any kind of exchanges. I'm guessing anybody that's got incriminating stuff on their cell phones, it's a law clerk for justice in D.C., I'm guessing it probably deleted that stuff off the phone. But apparently people can go and find anything, anywhere.
Yeah, if you delete it, it's still out there.
It's still out
But
there.
I suspect, as many people in public office do, that law clerks use their phones rather sparingly and other electronic devices.
Or what was the thing Brighton's was using? Not Snapchat, but the thing where your pictures and messages disappear.
It's something like Snapchat. Is it? There's a couple different ones. I don't use them. I don't know.
I don't either. By the way, Eric Brighton's two of the latest reputable polls, for what polls are worth, shows he's leading, and one of the polls shows him winning the general. There was an event last night in Springfield, and I don't know how substantial this event was in Springfield last night. Billy Long, Mark McCloskey, Dave Schatz were in attendance. Schmidt and Hartzler are now trailing. And the latest polls are Attorney General Eric Schmidt. He's trailing. Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, she is trailing in the polls, and the leader is Eric Greitens. None of those three at this event in Springfield last night. Billy Long is going to be here coming up 7:35 this morning. We might talk about that a little bit, but also really want to talk about one of the things I want to ask him. Does he sense that perhaps there is a change, a changing sentiment, especially amongst Republicans regarding reform as it relates to guns? Also, we'll ask him about the event last night. Coming up about 5 minutes from now here on 93.9 The Eagle, we're going to meet in mid-Missouri. There's a town that kind of has its own greeter. It's kind of a cool story. We'll do that 5 minutes. Auction and realty company, they're changing the game. They're changing the way that auctions are done. They're doing it online, AtterburySells.com. Go to AtterburySells.com. You'll find all kinds. You'll find beautiful homes, modest homes, and you'll find things like this in this particular auction. It's an auction that features a John Deere riding mower and a dump cart, appliances, there's furniture, just all kinds of stuff, household appliances, like everything that you would find if you were physically going to an auction. But it's online, and all of the details are on AtterburySells.com. So you got to check it out, AtterburySells.com. You'll find all kinds of things. Recently, there was an extensive record collection with, I'm talking stuff from like Led Zeppelin to Jimi Hendrix to Bach and Beethoven. I mean, it was just incredible what they had on there. And these are the kinds of finds that you'll discover from Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. All you have to do is go to their website, AtterburySells.com.
Catch Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time at 939theeagle.com.
At 11:27, we know from video evidence, at 11:27, the exterior door where we knew the shooter entered was propped open by a teacher. 11:28, the suspect vehicle crashes into the ditch, as previously described. The teacher runs to the room 132 to retrieve a phone, and that same teacher walks back to the exit door, and door remains propped open.
Now, that was Steve McCraw in that crazy press conference last Friday talking about the shooting in Uvalde. And this was where we said, hey, listen, there was more than one failure on the part of various law enforcement agencies. Apparently, Border Patrol, they just went in because they were sick and tired. They were sick to their stomach at these local law enforcement officials apparently just waiting. Border Patrol goes in, special team of the Border Patrol. But that is Texas Department of Public Safety Director Steve McCraw saying there, teacher propped the door open and left it open, saying that's what the video shows. Well, now there's surveillance footage that reportedly confirms that the teacher did shut the door before the gunman made entry, despite the fact we just heard what he said there. As video surveillance footage is showing that the door was propped and left open. Well, now there's surveillance footage that says no, the teacher did shut the door. Another source telling the newspaper, the Houston Chronicle, told the paper that a separate door in the building had a non-functioning locking mechanism. So a lot of stuff coming out of there. And this is where you start to hesitate about, you know, what kind of information do we put out there? And it's not always the news' fault. A lot of times they get the wrong information, or they get the best information at the time that law enforcement handling whatever it is, whatever the situation is. Sometimes they just go with the best information that law enforcement has at that time. Hey, as we think about our Senate race, we're in June now, 2 months. 2 months away from our U.S. Senate primary. Greitens, who now leads the pack, two reputable polling sources show Eric Greitens in the lead. Eric Schmidt, typically had been Eric Schmidt, our Attorney General, and Vicky Hartzler. Two latest polls show that Eric Greitens is in the lead. There was a forum last night in Springfield. And one of our producers within the Zimmer Radio Network tells me Billy Long kept breaking the rules. The moderator said they weren't allowed to mention other candidates at all. Billy did so repeatedly. It wasn't a true debate. It was a forum. There was no debating. It was all easy questions. There were 10 questions. They each got to answer. It was all the hot topics that they all agree on. And this is what I love, because she includes in here, we didn't learn anything about where they differ. The event was poorly attended. Gosh, I wonder if I can read this next line. When Mark McCloskey is the best speaker at the event, you know the quality was subpar.
He's really
He's a good
though.
speaker.
When I saw him
when
I saw him at Lincoln Days, I was really impressed. You could tell he toured around with Trump for a while. He said kind of giving stump speeches, and he's a lawyer, and so he's a polished public speaker.
Oh, and then I wonder if I should verify this first, but a source claims the event that Vicky skipped. So Vicky did, I think it was a fundraiser, and I think it may have been even in Columbia. Vicky didn't go to the event, and according to this source, didn't go because she was doing this fundraiser that Josh Hawley was doing for her. Josh ended up being a no-show. He called in. I haven't verified any of this. This is from a producer of a radio show in another part of the states. Dave Schatz was unimpressive. Billy rambled and sounded like a Trump.
Yikes.
All right, I'll stop there.
But one interesting thing I think that comes from that is, we're not learning a lot about where the candidates differ. And I thought one place that we would learn a little bit about that was when they start running the negative ads on each other. And I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen more of those ads already. I mean, if you think about how close we are to the August election, I really thought we would see more punching at each other. And maybe I just don't know the campaign timeline. Maybe it is too early. There are politicos out there that are experts on that, but I really felt like they would be distinguishing each other by now.
I think it'd be interesting to see what happens when the next poll comes out. If there are 3 polls in a row that shows Eric Greitens in the lead, I would imagine, just a Joe Schmo, regular Joe Schmo here, I would guess that maybe we might start seeing some of those negative ads. Do want to talk about this mid-Missouri town that has its own town greeter. We might get into that coming up 7:15. Before that, how president's policies are affecting you and your family. Do you have chronic joint pain and you've researched, looked at all the options? I know I've dealt with this before in my life, and you end up, man, you're looking at everything. Hey, listen, if I mash bananas and then cook it on tree bark, it gets rid of it. You know, we start looking at all that weird stuff, but let me tell you about it. Your weird searches on the internet stops here because of QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics can give you lasting joint pain relief without surgery. They don't have to cut into your body and mess stuff up. No drugs, no downtime. It's regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics. For a free consultation, I'm telling you, you've been doing research. Don't stop at the research now. Research QC Kinetics, and that research can start by calling QC Kinetics. 573-545-5588. 573-545-5588. 573-545-5588.
Another nickel a gallon. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Gas prices hit a new high again today, $4.67 a gallon on average nationwide, according to AAA. It was $4.62 just yesterday. President Biden says bringing down inflation in general is a priority, but that he'll let the Federal Reserve Bank do its job.
Fighting inflation starts with a simple proposition, President Biden says.
Respect the Fed. Respect the Fed's independence.
The president congratulated Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell's confirmation to a second term, and other Fed leaders nominated by President Biden now also confirmed.
At this moment, they have a laser focus on addressing inflation, just like I am.
In a Wall Street Journal op-ed, the president also renewed his call for Congress to take up proposals aimed at reducing costs for things like energy, prescription drugs, and child care. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A Russian government spokesman says the U.S. is deliberately pouring oil on the fire by supplying more advanced, longer-range rocket systems to Ukraine. President Biden says the weapons are meant to help Ukraine's military more precisely hit targets on the battlefield in Ukraine, not to hit targets in Russia. The Homeland Security Department has a warning about some Dominion voting systems' electronic voting machines, while saying there's no evidence that flaws have been exploited to alter any election results.
The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency warns electronic voting machines used in at least 16 states have software vulnerabilities. CISA says the vulnerabilities can leave the machine susceptible to hacking if the flaws go unaddressed. The warning is based on testing by a prominent computer scientist and expert witness in a long-running lawsuit. Dominion defends the machines as accurate and secure.
Fox's Tom Rigotti. State police in Texas now say the door used by a gunman to enter an elementary school in Uvalde had been propped open but then closed by a teacher, but the door did not lock as it was supposed to. Why is now part of the investigation. America's listening to Fox News.
It's the perfect season for a powerful business upgrade with Dell Technologies Summer Sale Event. Save up to 45% on secure PCs built for business with Windows 10 Pro. You'll also find great savings on Dell servers, monitors, docks, and other accessories to help boost productivity. Plus, enjoy free shipping on everything. Do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL for business specials during Dell's Summer Sale Event.
If you're in the market for a new home or your dream home, go with a lender you can count on for competitive rates. Over 300 loan products and thousands of loan consultants to help make sure you get the home and the mortgage that you want. Call now to see if you're pre-approved. 866-888-LOAN. 866-888-LOAN. Or go to LoanDepot.com. Loan Depot, where home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Equal Housing Opportunity Lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
.93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03. We are expecting that rain to continue through this morning. The good news is most of the heavy rain has moved off to our east right now and some to the south. However, we'll get some more heavy rain today. No severe weather threat is expected. However, we are dealing with some flash flood warnings in several counties in the listening area. More on that in a moment. 73 will be our high today, and then a chance of storms tonight. Again, nothing severe expected here in mid-Missouri with a low down to 56 degrees. Good morning, and here's some of the stories we are working on for you in the 7 o'clock hour. I'm Brian Hauswirth. We will hear details about Columbia's progress over the past year and about city priorities tomorrow when City Manager DeCarlin Seawood delivers his first State of the City address. Mr. Seawood began in January. He'll speak tomorrow morning at 11 in the council chambers. State of the City is open to the public. That is at City Hall downtown. Flash flood warnings are still in effect for several mid-Missouri counties due to the heavy rain that continued overnight into this morning. National Weather Service St. Louis meteorologist Mark Britt tells 93.9 The Eagle that flash flood warning for Cooper, Howard, and Saline counties continues until 8 this morning. So about another 56 minutes. That would involve Boonville, Fayette, Pilot Grove would be covered in that, as well as Marshall and Malta Bend. The flood warning for Monroe County expired a few moments ago, but again, be careful on all those rural roads. Most of the heaviest rain has been to our north as well as to our west. A July 12th bench trial has been scheduled for former Mizzou offensive coordinator Derek Dooley's lawsuit against the University of Missouri Board of Curators. Boone County Circuit Judge Brooke Jacobs scheduling the bench trial on Tuesday. He says witnesses can appear via WebEx or in person. Derek Dooley, you may recall, was Mizzou's offensive coordinator in 2018 and 2019. He was let go when Barry Odom was let go. His contract stated if he was terminated without cause, he'd be paid his monthly salary of $77,000 per month for up to 12 months. That amount, $925,000. His lawsuit says he has not been paid that amount. This will be a one-day bench trial. UM System spokesman Christian Basie telling the Eagle last week he cannot comment on pending litigation. A lot of activity at the courthouse this week. Witness issues have delayed a Columbia murder trial that was scheduled to begin next week here in Columbia. 18-year-old Isaiah Jackson is charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder for the July 2020 deaths of 2 people near Volunteer Drive and Grace Lane. Court documents indicate the killings happened after fireworks went astray and landed near a neighboring home where Jackson was at. This was back in July 2020. Boone County Assistant Prosecutor Spencer Smith tells 93.9 The Eagle that the prosecution has been unable to subpoena multiple essential witnesses to move forward with this case. We'll hear more about what he had to say about what happens sometimes in these shooting cases and witnesses coming up at the bottom of the hour. A state lawmaker who chairs the Missouri Senate Economic Development Committee is blaming what he calls greedy casinos for the legislature's failure to approve sports wagering this year. Warrensburg State Senator Denny Hoskins tells 93.9 The Eagle 3 different compromise bills were presented to Missouri's professional sports teams, the casinos, and the players' associations.
The most recent and last compromise that we offered, all the professional sports teams were in agreement, and they wanted to accept the deal. And one of the casinos wanted to accept the deal as well. Unfortunately, the casinos decided that they did not want to accept the deal.
Chairman Hoskins says his sportsbook legislation would have allowed you to bet on the Cardinals, the Blues, the Chiefs, the Royals, Mizzou, and any other professional or college sports teams. They took the VLT language out. Basically, the slot machine provision was taken out. He says his bill would have raised anywhere from $40 to $50 million a year for Missouri State veterans' homes and cemeteries as well. Our news is brought to you this morning by the Candy Factory in downtown Columbia. They now make their chocolate-covered strawberries fresh every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, year-round. You can learn more at thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. Turning our attention now to sports. Cardinals beat San Diego 3-2 Tuesday night, 10 innings, Busch Stadium. Albert Pujols had the game winner, a sacrifice fly, 10th inning. The Cardinals going for the sweep today against San Diego. Afternoon game, and this one could be impacted by the rain. Again, not expecting anything severe, but there's a good chance of heavy rain all day today in St. Louis. First pitch 12:15 on 93.9 The Eagle. That means pregame coverage about 11:20 or so right here on The Eagle. Tom Ackerman from the studios of KMOX will have your pregame coverage today. Kevin Wheeler and KMOX on the postgame show. Cleveland beat the Royals last night 8-3. Guardians had a 3-run homer from Austin Hedges. And in high school baseball, St. Elizabeth, Russellville boys baseball teams, as Rod Smith said on television last night, what a performance by the Show Me Conference here in mid-Missouri. 2 championships, one in Class 1 St. E, Class 2 Russellville. Southern Boone goes for one today. 1 o'clock today, their opponent Marshall. Good team. They'll be playing in Ozark, but again, weather could be a factor there as well. Forecast right now is calling for rain in southwest Missouri. Hopefully they'll be able to get the game in. Sports brought to you by Betts Jewelers, 708. All right, John, thanks so much. Right now we have rain falling, 63. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. No major problems to report, but again, with these flash flood warnings, especially in our rural areas, those rural gravel roads are going to be problematic today. Cooper, Howard, Saline, flash flood warning in effect through 8. Even here in Columbia, we have had a lot of rain, almost a full inch, 0.93 inches, just under an inch at Sanborn Field in the past 24 hours. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're waiting.
All right. Branden, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm doing okay, Joe. But I'll be honest with you, I have a hard time trying to explain to my friends and to my family what's going on here in America since January the 20th, 2021. That's how I'm doing, and it breaks my heart to see my fellow neighbors here in mid-Missouri having to make life-changing decisions at the gas. I'm standing at the gas pump going, maybe I'll start walking to work. I know it's raining. I know we've got some flood issues in surrounding counties. But maybe I should walk to work because since January the 20th, 2021, gas prices are silly.
Why do I see a picture of Branden dancing to that Shaggy song that said, like, it wasn't me? I didn't vote for him. It wasn't me.
What me? What me? So that's how we're doing today, Joe. And the American people aren't doing so well. You look at the polling that has to do with like the right direction of the country, wrong direction of the country. And it is stunning, the numbers of people that think we're going in the wrong direction. And here's what that means. It means that people aren't happy. If they say we're going in the wrong direction, is what that really means in my mind is people just aren't happy because they're having to make really hard decisions since January 20th, 2021. And they're frustrated because all of us smart people said, and listen, if you're a regretful Biden voter, we're not chastising you. We're doing quite the opposite is what we're doing is we're saying, hey, welcome. We'll explain to you how these things work, how these things affect you, and what this means, even nestled in the heart of America, in the heart of Missouri. You can't get much more central than we are in Missouri. You can't get much more central than in the state of Missouri. Isn't the geographical center of the United States like South Dakota or something somewhere? I wonder if it's on Google.
Well, the
geographical center of the United States of America.
Well, it depends on what geographical center, because when you're talking about basically the middle point of the country, it's always in Missouri, every census. It's a rural town. Oh, it's been around Ironton before. It changes. It seems to go up and down the I-44 corridor. I'm not sure what you're referring, but I see.
Well, sometimes you do like geographical or the population
I see what
center
you're saying. Yes.
too.
Lebanon, Kansas.
Is the geographical center of... Now, wait a minute. Is it Lebanon or Lebanon? Because I got my tail kicked 7 years ago. I just started here on Wake Up Columbia, and I was just kind of plodding along, and I'd been here for a few months, and I was talking about something happening in Lebanon, Missouri. Now, I had been to Sammy A. Baker State Park as a kid, and I remember it was Lebanon. I said Lebanon, and I got my tail kicked that day. And you know what happened after that? For like an hour and a half, we took phone calls on weird names in Missouri. And I've been here ever since.
I got the giggles once when a local news reporter tried for the first time to pronounce Chillicothe. I can't even remember how bad it was, but I think it was Chicka something. It was not good.
I was watching the National Memorial Day Parade on Monday, and it was streamed live in a bunch of different places because the Centralia High School Marching Band was in the National Parade.
Right.
And the announcer pronounced Centralia as Centralia.
I've heard that before.
What?
Which is so bizarre to me. Like, I've heard Centralia mispronounced before, but never Centralia.
I've heard it pronounced that way, and not just Missouri, because there's a Centralia, Illinois. There is a Centralia, Washington, and out west.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. And I've heard that more than once.
Yeah,
Centralia.
I've not heard that. That's interesting.
By the way, behind the scenes, and you don't have to be watching. You can watch the show on YouTube right now. You can see we're all waving at our respective cameras this morning. Not at the screen, Brian, the camera. You know we love you, man. But hey, don't we do the same thing? Like when I'm at a Cardinals ball game, and what happens when you see yourself on the big screen? What do? You turn to the big screen and start waving at the big screen.
And I've always wondered at those Cardinal games where the camera is. I don't even know where it is. So it's awesome.
We love you so much.
You're a good man.
I know. Where was I? Oh, complaining about Joe Biden? Is that where I was?
You were, and you were talking about the Centralia. Centralia, maybe Lebanon, Kansas.
Yeah, Lebanon, Kansas. Center, yeah. So we are the center, even though we're not technically the geographical center of Missouri. You don't get much more breadbasket heart of America than Missouri.
In true Wake Up Columbia fashion, we are the center-ish.
Yeah, points. So that's what's going on. It's poor, and we know it. But these things, when it comes to wrong direction of the country, I hope that you will read into that. Is what that means is we don't feel good as a country about where we are. And now Biden report he's mystified. He doesn't know why his ratings are so low. They're low, and I hate to do whataboutism, but they are lower than Trump's were. It's something I typically don't do, but that's where some of the national news outlets are. He's mad at his own party because they won't defend him, and his party's like, I'm not. What do? If there's a dumpster fire, you don't go closer to the dumpster fire in the alley in downtown Columbia. What do?
You back away.
You get away from that dumpster fire. And now, because they have the White House has to keep correcting statements, and this blows me away. And maybe I'm misreading it. If I'm misreading it, please, somebody. I'm surrounded by 3 people in this room that are book smarter than I am. The White House. So Biden he's getting upset because he's making these statements, and then the White House has to come back and say, well, not really. Here's what he meant. So President Biden appears to have some issues with the White House communications team because they have to keep walking back his public comments. So check this out. The White House communications team, here's what they did. Listen to this. They issued a statement pushing back on the idea that the White House communications team has undermined the president after the president said he feels like he's being undermined. Aren't they undermining him again by saying, no, we're not undermining him? A little bit closer to home, MoDOT has revealed a massive transportation spending plan. Now, we know at least one big project, and you have a chance to have some say in this here in the near future at 63 Grindstone. And I don't know how many cars pass through that area a day, but we know just a couple of years ago they redid the overpass on 63 there at Grindstone. We know this industrial area, which has the Missouri Public Utilities Assistance Commission, something like that. Ameren is back here now. The people who make the fake meat is back here now. Veterans United. I mean, it's growing. You've got the school down Grindstone, and that is east of 63. You've got Mizzou Farms and stuff down there. You've got
used print shops there too. They have a huge Coca-Cola.
So there's a lot going on. If you're coming in, even if you don't go east of 63 on Grindstone, if you're coming down Grindstone 5 o'clock at night trying to make a left-hand turn onto 63 to head north, good luck, buddy. But there's a public comment period on this coming up. If you want, what kind of changes would you like to see there?
Yeah, exactly. In the basically, it's an open house style public meeting, but I would encourage people before that to take a look. I've got a story up 939theeagle.com, Branden. I link to it, and if you also want to look as well, and I link to this, but it's modot.org/63AC interchange. Pretty easy to remember. modot.org/63AC interchange. But it answers most of the questions here about how this is going to work, the time frame, what they're going to do. But the public hearing, open house, will be on Thursday, next Thursday, the 9th, 4:30 to 6:30. You don't have to be there for the whole thing. If you show up at 4:30, you get the same presentation everybody else does. But they really want to hear from people. One of the biggest things people are saying on our website and Facebook, they want to know why this has been picked ahead of 70 and 63. And really it comes down to funding, but we'll get a chance to ask them what the status is of 70 and 63. They do multiple projects, by the way. It's not like they just do this one. They're doing a lot of other projects as well. This is badly needed. I mean, and there's also a public safety issue here with ambulances.
As a matter of fact, we have reached out to MoDOT. They are working on getting on somebody here, but the whole list of projects potentially MoDOT proposing committing $140 million to update the interchange 70 and 63, where that meets in Columbia.
And that is not nearly the amount that Patrick McKenna has publicly testified about. I mean, he gave the number 4 years ago. I hate to think with the inflation since then. I mean, cost of living, et cetera. It was $250 million that he said would fully be needed. So I'm thinking just based on that, they've had to scale that back. One of the problems they run into is you've got Bob Evans, you've got Steak and Shake, you've got hotels, you've got a Mobile Glass, you've got all these businesses that are right there on the interstate. And if you have to buy people out or move them to do some stuff, that would be very expensive. They don't have a lot of room to work with.
And I pray, MoDOT, you're MoDOT, please. And if you don't, I will do it. Please, then do something about the entry into Columbia. Because I have a lot of pride in this town. I really do. There are a lot of things I don't like about it, but ultimately I choose to live here. That sense of entry, what a dump. It is. It's a dump. And it's easy to look at examples. If you ever go through O'Fallon, Missouri, Wentzville, some very simple things that they have done, and I'm willing to get all the money, and I'm willing to do that. But if you see fit, please do something, because people coming from St. Louis, and they come into Columbia, and it's like there's this big disappointment. We look bad. All right, we got to move forward. Want to get into what's hot with Hannah. I want to thank listener Chris. He has sent, he's been to Lebanon. I don't know if it's Lebanon, Kansas or Lebanon, Kansas. The geographical center of the lower 48 states. And it's pretty cool. They have a welcome sign and they hang their hat on it. There's a statue and a memorial. Very cool. We do appreciate that. Coming up, we are going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah. What's hot today?
Today's national holiday gives us all a sense of accountability. I'm not sure everyone's ready for it.
I'm bummed. There's a story
Branden Rathert and Wake Up Columbia. Drinking upstream from the herd. 93.9 The Eagle.
Divers search for survivors while risking their own lives swimming in the murky and dangerous water. Police snipers brought in to keep an eye on the gainers.
So a van crashes into a pond in Florida, and there's people in the vehicle. So the divers get in there and realize this thing is infested with alligators. So they had snipers laying out on the side of the pond to help protect themselves from the alligators. The efforts that our first responders go through, man. Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know, it's nice to know that after a day off, you're still consistently late.
Right.
Some things never change.
That's right, and they never will, incidentally.
Yeah, I had kind of figured that out by now. Today is a day of accountability because today is New Year's resolution recommitment day. So it's June 1st. We're almost halfway through 2022 already, which is crazy to me. So at the end of the month, we'll be halfway through the year. And it's just a good day to kind of check in on those New Year's resolutions that nobody ever keeps.
See, I don't have to worry about this day because I didn't make any. Steph?
You've been on like a health weight loss kick.
I always figure, the New Year's resolutions are great. But for me, it's if I want to make changes, I'll do it today. And sometimes I even stick with it. Did you do anything for New Year's as far as a resolution?
Mine's always health. So I've been walking more, but I could do a better job.
But it's an improvement. It's progress over what you were doing last year. It's progress. Hannah?
I didn't make any. I've actually read scientific studies, because I'm a nerd like that, on why New Year's resolutions fail so much. And it's because if you're not truly ready to commit to a goal, then it's never going to happen. So just because the calendar says January 1st, it doesn't mean that you're actually ready to accomplish that goal.
If you want to change something, you could do it today. And if you don't want to, then don't. That's what I say.
And if you don't want to, you're not going to.
Yeah. By the way, later, maybe after Billy Long is here at 7:35, what I thought was going to be in What's Hot with Hannah today. We'll cover that here on 93.9 The Eagle.
That check of weather brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. You have a friend in the pest control business, and your problem will be solved.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. A mass shooting victim is suing a gun maker in the wake of the attack on a New York City subway train.
The lawsuit filed by Eileen Stewart in a Brooklyn federal court accuses gunmaker Glock of, quote, reckless disregard for life and says the company has, quote, endangered the public health and safety with the marketing, distribution, and sales of its guns.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
Officials say a 9mm Glock semi-automatic handgun was used in the attack on April 12th when Frank James opened fire on a train full of morning commuters. Stewart was one of the 10 people shot.
The mayor of New York City is floating the idea of deploying scanners to spot those carrying guns into the transit system. And Tesla CEO Elon Musk telling his white-collar staff they must return to the office or find work somewhere else. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31. 63 is our current temperature right now in Columbia. We're expecting showers to continue today. Our high around 73. Chance of storms tonight with a low near 56 degrees. Good morning, and here are some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. Several of the candidates running for the GOP U.S. Senate nomination in Missouri participated in a forum last night, including Springfield Congressman Billy Long. He was critical specifically of 3 candidates who were not there at the forum last night in Springfield. We'll have a live interview with the congressman coming up after this newscast. Boonville, Bunston, Fayette, Marshall, some of the towns in the listening area still impacted by flood warnings. Warnings remain in effect in all of those towns and counties until 8 o'clock this morning. That'd be Cooper, Howard, Saline counties. Difficulty getting witnesses to testify, causing a postponement of a Columbia murder trial that was set to begin next Tuesday. 18-year-old Isaiah Jackson charged with 2 counts of murder for the 2020 deaths of Tara Knedler and an 11-year-old child after a dispute involving fireworks landing near a home. Boone County Assistant Prosecutor Spencer Smith says the prosecution has been unable to subpoena multiple essential witnesses to move forward with the case. He also tells 93.9 The Eagle that in shooting cases, it is common for witnesses to be reluctant to come forward and testify. So again, the trial is not canceled. It is postponed until further notice. And the Missouri Senate Economic Development Committee chair would like to see the governor call a September special session on sports wagering. Senator Denny Hoskins says Sportsbook would help fund state veterans' homes and cemeteries in Missouri. News brought to you by Willett Dental Associates, 733. In sports, Cardinals beat San Diego last night, 10 innings at Busch Stadium. The final there was 3-2. The game-winning RBI from Albert Pujols. It comes on a sacrifice fly in the 10th inning. St. Louis now 28-21. They have a chance to sweep today against San Diego. Biggest issue there may be the rain. The forecast does not look good for St. Louis. Not seeing anything that is severe, but the radar indicates there'll be quite a bit of rain today. First pitch is set for 12:15 today at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We'll see what happens today. Tom Ackerman, pregame coverage, KMOX on the Cardinals Baseball Network at 11:20 here today on the Eagle. Cleveland beat the Royals last night 8-3. They had a home run, the Guardians did, from Austin Hedges. And in high school baseball, St. Elizabeth, Russellville win state baseball championships Class 1 and Class 2 respectively. That's number 4 right now for St. E. And today, Southern Boone. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. They'll take on Marshall. They'll play today if they can get it underway at 1 o'clock today in Ozark, Missouri. And right now, the temperatures in Ozark are all right, but it is cloudy. And but there is a chance of rain coming down there later today. Sports brought to you by Tiger Towing. When you can't get going, call Tiger Towing. 734. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text. Our number is 573-874-9390. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
We see the actions of this president being an assault on the Constitution.
That's Nancy Pelosi. A couple of years ago, I think Trump was president. Folks accused her of being drunk. We know now her husband got tagged with a DUI over the weekend in California, and folks were like, oh, he probably got off because of privilege. First of all, he didn't get off. He did get arrested, and he did have to pay $5,000. Now, is that to say, because I have tried this before. I've tried it more than once. Years ago, I got pulled over 55 near Butler Hill Road, South County, Missouri. And I got pulled over for speeding, minor in possession, and I pulled a $100 bill out of my wallet and asked that law enforcement official, I said, can I just pay the ticket now? And it was a state highway trooper. And he looks up at me and he says, no, you can't pay it now. But I figure you can't knock a guy for trying. And then another time years ago in Idaho, I got pulled over again for speeding, and it was state, and the guy's writing me a ticket, and he says, what's your name? And I said, well, we actually know each other. You know, when you come into the radio station and record PSAs for Boat Safety Month or whatever, I'm the one who records them. And he says, uh-huh. And just kept on writing. So I don't know if this guy did try, because I still try to pull the card. Hey, don't you know who I am? I'm the guy that used to work with Brad Trinago. And now I've got a new one. Don't you know? I've got a friend. There's an internet TV show called Matt's Towing and Off-Road Recovery, and it's a YouTube TV show. It's about 1 million views per episode, and he turned me on to it, and I watch it once in a while. It's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Guys up in the mountains, out in the desert, pulling people out that are stuck. He went and saw his shop a couple of weeks ago down near Zion's National Monument, southern Utah. And he's in there. He gets to meet the guy and everything. Just a YouTube TV show. Well, in the latest episode, my friend's arm is in this episode of Matt's telling. So that's my new one. Don't you know who I am? I'm friends with the guy whose arm was in a YouTube TV show. But I mentioned that Pelosi stuff because Congressman Billy Long is joining us here on the show. That's one of his cohorts there in Washington, D.C. But let's start with the bigger stuff. Is there any appetite in D.C. amongst Republicans to look at doing some things differently as it relates to guns, Congressman?
I think everybody has an attitude. If there was something that would work, that would prevent some of these things, any reasonable person's going to look at anything like that. But to this day and time, no one has been able to come up with any kind of a suggestion that would have helped in any of these situations. They tried to have a Zoom call with a bunch of senators yesterday, and that kind of went south in a hurry. So, unfortunately, they're trying to blame an inanimate object for all of these tragedies.
Yep.
And there's so many things that can be done. I was a radio talk show host from 99 to 06 during Columbine. When Columbine happened, I was on just like you 3 hours every morning, Monday through Friday. And my mind works different than other people's, if you haven't noticed. But I always think of things differently than a lot of folks. But the first thing when I found out about Columbine and saw the footage of them streaming out of the building and everything with their hands over their head, how many classrooms have you ever been in that have an exit door, that have an ingress-egress window? I was a realtor for 31 years, and you couldn't list something as a bedroom if you had a little bonus room or extra room, and there's plenty of room for a bed and a dresser and whatever in there. You couldn't list that as a bedroom on your listing form unless it had an ingress-egress window if someone could escape in an emergency. And they're talking about arming teachers, which would work in some cases, wouldn't in other. I'm sure some teachers are not, wouldn't be proficient with a gun or be afraid to grab a gun to defend the kids and themselves with. But I guarantee they could sure run over and throw a bar off of a door on an emergency door out of their classroom. And if they would have had those in Uvalde, they built a couple of new schools in Springfield here recently. Of course, there's no exit doors from the classrooms. They're just killing zones. And why any architect in their right mind since Columbine would design a school that didn't have exit doors out of classrooms is beyond me. And also to retrofit existing classrooms. All this goes back to the school boards. I mean, everyone has to, police your own area, has to take care of your own kids, your own schools, and make sure that how far would $40 billion that we sent over to Ukraine, how far would that have gone to retrofit a lot of these schools? So there's a lot of discussion needs to happen on all these things. Brandon, we had 3 or 4 killings in the Ozarks, 5, 6, 7 miles south of Springfield here. So it's all kind of part and parcel of the same thing. But had a guy shot in broad daylight that happened. The husband said he found him with his wife, and there in the middle of the day in Ozark, Missouri, shot and killed the guy. We had another one that happened near there, and when I found out about it, it was off of W Highway here, and I said, well, I got a buddy who lives off W Highway. He knows everything goes on W Highway, so I called him, and I said, do you know anything about that shooting on W? And he said, yeah, it was my next-door neighbor. He went to a party last night and got shot and killed. We had a guy in Springfield they're looking for now that supposedly shot and killed his ex-wife here in Springfield. To my knowledge, none of those shootings were done with any kind of Armalite rifle or AK or anything like that. So it's a systemic problem. When I was growing up in Springfield, you had 1 or 2 murders a year. Now we have 2, 3, 4 a week in Springfield, Missouri. So something has happened to our society, and I go back to abortion when we decided it was okay to murder kids in their mother's wombs. life has no value to a lot of these folks.
Congressman Billy Long joining us on the show, also running for Senate 2022. As a matter of fact, forum last night in Springfield. And I want to correct something I said about an hour ago. I said Vicky Hartzler had a fundraiser here yesterday in which Josh Hawley was supposed to attend. That is incorrect. That fundraiser that Josh Hawley was supposed to attend was in Kansas City last night. And I'm told by Hartzler's folks that apparently Josh Hawley had a conflict in KC last night and could not attend. Let me do this first, Billy. Can I read kind of from somebody that was at this event last night? Can I read some of their review of what happened and then get your reaction?
That was it. What last night?
Your event last night.
Oh, down here in Springfield.
Down in Springfield,
sure, yeah. I just want to say one thing on what you just said there. It's very interesting that Josh Hawley had a conflict in Kansas City last night that prevented him from being there in person at a $5,800 per person event, and he called it in because this morning he was supposed to be on with Pete Mundo in Kansas City after 9 o'clock, and Pete just announced on his radio station that Josh Hawley's flight didn't get in. So if he's in Kansas City, I wonder why his flight didn't get in. But anyway, go ahead.
So what I wanted to ask you, so Billy Long kept breaking the rules, which I believe that. I know you. I know how you roll. Let's see. Moderators weren't allowed to mention other candidates. But here's the biggest thing. I mean, there's some, gossip stuff in there, but mostly it's the candidates really didn't do much to separate themselves from each other. Now, it was you, Dave Schatz, and Mark McCloskey. Do you feel like you did anything to separate yourself from the other two candidates, at the very least, in attendance last night?
We were pretty similar, the ones that were there last night, and the moderator explained the rules. And if you go back and play a 90-minute tape of the whole event, I don't know how many times, maybe once or twice, I mentioned another candidate by name. The rule was if you mention a candidate by name, they get 30 seconds to respond to your criticism.
Mm-hmm.
But when three people chose not to be there, now we changed the date for Vicky Hartzler and myself, I got to admit, because they had it originally in June when we were going to be in Washington, D.C. voting. And I called the organizers immediately when I saw the schedule. I said, hey, do you know that me and Vicky won't be there because we're going to be voting? Yeah. So they changed it to last night, and they did this a long time ago. Well, Vicky, of course, they don't want to face me. I can tell you that because when we opened up in Joplin, we each had 2 minutes at a forum down there to, talk about ourselves. And I took my first minute to talk about Eric Schmidt and how weak he was on China when he was in the Senate. When he had a chance to be tough on China, he wasn't. And I talked about Vicky Hartzler's voting record in my other minute. So they know, candidates are not supposed to talk about other candidates in any situation ever.
Right.
You're supposed to let your people do that. Let your general, don't talk about another candidate. Well, hey, I'm not a politician, and so I don't, I'm a guy that went to Congress at 55
That's besides,
years
if you
old,
want to
and
talk about other people, that's what Twitter is for. I have one more question. I think Brian Hauswirth wanted to come on and chat with you for a minute. There's been two relatively significant polls, 2 in a row, that show Eric Greitens leading in the GOP Senate primary. That surprises me. One of the polls has shown him winning even the general, because that's been the fear. If Eric Greitens goes forward, he's going to lose the general. These polling numbers are now indicating different, and I am one of those who have believed that if Eric Greitens goes forward, we're going to lose this thing in the general. Your reaction to those polling numbers that show Eric Greitens in the lead?
I've been saying that all along. People have been kidding themselves, saying that, who would vote for Greitens? I got news for you. If you travel around 114 county courthouses and all the Lincoln days I've done, I've probably done 40 Lincoln days at a minimum. And, I've seen Eric Schmidt at 2 of them. I've seen Vicky at a few. I see McCloskey at all of them. He's been to one more than me, actually, I think. But if you travel around, Eric Greitens remains very popular with our base, like it or not, for all his foibles and everything, and tying women up. He's leading this thing, and he's going to continue to lead as far as I can see, unless something breaks. And they keep saying, there's more news coming out. Come on, what? And I told Mitch McConnell this from day one. I said, what are you going to find on Greitens? Everybody knows everybody, all his dirty underwear is out there, all his dirty laundry's out there. So, what are you going to do? So, yeah, he is leading this thing. Schmidt is in second. Vicky is not. She claims that she's statistically tied with Greitens, but Schmidt's in second. Vicky's third. I'm in fourth. The poll that we did a few weeks ago, and it was an independent poll. It wasn't I won't say independent, but it was not. If you can hire your own pollster and you're supposed to make yourself look good. I mean, there's a race for my seat down here, and Jay Wasson had some people poll, and he's in the lead, and Wasson's in the lead for my seat, and Burleson's third. Well, guess what? Jeff Rowe, who's running Burleson's campaign, did a poll, and guess who's first in that poll? Eric Burleson. And guess who's third? Jay Wasson. So you can make these polls look like, but ours was a very even-handed poll. It had a bigger undecided than what most of these polls are showing. It was close to Trafalgar's number on on undecided. But he's leading this thing, like it or not. He will not debate. He won't come around. And Eric Schmidt's mouthpiece, Rich Christmer, who's Rich Christmer's dad's going to vote for me, he's told me. But Rich Christmer's the spokesperson for Schmidt, and Rudy Keller with the Missouri Independent told me last night at the forum that we had down here that Christmer told him that Eric Schmidt will not debate anyone except Greitens. Did you hear what I said?
Eric Schmidt will not debate anyone except for Greitens. Another journalist you might know very well told you this.
Because there's only a two-person race. This race is between Greitens and Schmidt. Now, Rich Christmer, according to Rudy Keller, told him that was his excuse why he wasn't in Springfield. He's not interested in debating five other candidates. He will only debate Eric Schmidt, who everyone knows will not debate. So that's tantamount to saying that Eric Schmidt's not going to be any debates.
All right, Congressman Long, I hate to cut you off. We love chatting with you, but we've only got about 1 minute here, and I know Brian Hauswirth wanted to get you real quick. 1 minute.
Yeah, just a quick question here, Congressman. We appreciate your time. Speaking of Eric Schmidt, I mean, you tweet this morning about absenteeism, and this is the quote you tweeted about this morning about last night. You said the organizers and voters were disappointed you being Eric Schmidt, were too much of a chicken Schmidt to share a stage with the rest of us in Springfield last night. End of quote. You wanted him to be there. Was there anyone there from his campaign, or was it just no one? I'm not sure. I
don't know. I do not know. There was no stickers. There was no Schmitz. There wasn't any stickers from anybody that I saw. Maybe they didn't even allow them. But, but to add insult to injury, Brian and Branden, the Boys State is having a forum, I think it's July the 12th, over in St. Charles. Boys State. Now, you're the Boys State kid, high schooler, and you're going to, having this debate, and you're so excited because you're going to have the sitting Attorney General from Missouri there who's running for Senate. You're going to have a former governor of the state of Missouri who's running for Senate, and you're going to have the other four candidates. And guess what? They turn you down. They've already turned him down. The Attorney General says he will not go to the Boys State Forum, and the governor says he will not go to the Boys State Forum. So that's going to leave Vicky, me, McCloskey,
and I want to clarify, again, I'm not trying to cut you off. When you say the governor, you're talking Greitens, not Governor Mike Parson. You're talking former Governor Greitens. Congressman, anything else you'd like to say here before we let you go? Campaign website, anything like that?
BillyLong.com. Don't vote wrong, vote long, and don't be silly. Vote for Billy. I hope people respect that three of us had the nerve to go to a forum, talk to the people, and talk to the press when it was over, and the other three hit out. Well, the first guy that came up to me last night is a retired judge, and he said, God hates a coward. He didn't have to say any more. I knew what he was talking about.
Congressman Long, running for Senate. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Appreciate that. Coming up, one call does it all. By the way, so we've got rain today. Things going to get weather-wise better, like tomorrow, sunshine. And guess what happens? Grass grows. Salter Lawn Service showing up, mowing yards. They're always looking for good people like you. So think about, and I mentioned this, here's why. the overtime that you get. Salter Lawn Service pays overtime, and that is in addition to your 401k, your retirement plan that you can get when you are working at Salter Lawn Service. That is in addition to a signing bonus. After 30 days, you get a signing bonus from Salter Lawn Service. They're looking for men, women. If you take pride in your work, you like working outdoors, this is not just a job. Salter Lawn Service, this is a career opportunity. Working for a locally owned company, I say this all the time. You take care of Salter. Salter will take care of you. Check out any job opportunities that might match what it is that you want to do. Salter Lawn Service. Salter, one call, does it all.
Always certain. Sometimes right. This is Branden Rathert and Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
He's a welcoming face in Fulton.
Everybody knows who he is.
He's a celebrity in our community.
Every day, even if you're having a rough day, you drive by, see him smiling, it has to put a smile on your face.
That's folks talking to KOMU Channel 8, and they're talking about a guy by the name of Mike Krausen, intersection of East 2nd Street and Bluff Street. Apparently, Mike Krausen sits out there every day. He's in a motorized chair, and he sits out there and just waves at people. Several years ago, his family made him a sign that says, welcome to Fulton, whatever, something like that. And this was featured Emily Spain, by the way, on KOMU 8. As a matter of fact, I sent her an email this morning. I always believe in complimenting local journalists when they do good things. And Emily Spain, obviously, she's been around for a lot of years. But I even sent her an email this morning. I appreciate when she does these MVP stories on KOMU Channel 8 because there are good things that happen around town. There are cool things happening. And she goes out of her way to promote those types of stories, like this guy, Mike Krausen.
It's simple things that actually testify to the gospel.
So he says, this is a simple thing. This is me doing, my God's work. I can just sit out here and just smile and wave at people. And people smile and wave back. And I think that's huge. Coming up here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9 TheEagle.com. So what is weather going to be doing for the rest of the day? How might that get in your way? Brian Hauswirth has more on that coming up at 8:03 here on 93.9 The Eagle.
More funerals in Texas. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. This afternoon's the funeral for one of the 19 students killed in a shooting at his elementary school in Uvalde, Texas last Tuesday. Jose Manuel Flores Jr. was 10 years old. One of two teachers shot and killed. Irma Garcia will be buried with her husband, Joe. He died of a heart attack 2 days later. The first two funerals were yesterday. Some senators are talking about new gun legislation.
Senator John Cornyn of Texas is taking the lead for the GOP in talks with Democrats in an effort to curb gun violence. He held a private virtual meeting Tuesday and said it was a very constructive conversation. Also in on those talks, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who posted a video on Twitter.
We are not prepared to allow our schools to continue as killing fields.
Meanwhile, the House Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing Thursday on the proposed Protecting Our Kids Act. It would raise age limits on semi-automatic rifle purchases and create a grant program to buy back large-capacity magazines.
Fox's Jill Nato in Washington. The Supreme Court blocks a state law in Texas restraining social media companies.
The law barred large social media companies from banning or censoring users based on their viewpoints, but the court sided with two technology industry groups who argued that the Republican-backed law would turn platforms into, quote, havens of the vilest expression imaginable. While those for the law argue it's supported by the First Amendment, the industry groups countered that it actually violates the free speech rights of the social media companies. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk has reportedly sent an email to executive staff saying remote work is no longer acceptable, that those workers should be in the office 40 hours a week or go somewhere else. A 2-month coronavirus lockdown in China's largest city, Shanghai, is over. The city's Communist Party committee proclaims it a success, thanking citizens for their support and contributions. America's listening to Fox News.
It's the perfect season for a powerful business upgrade with Dell Technologies Summer Sale Event. Save up to 45% on secure PCs built for business with Windows 10 Pro. You'll also find great savings on Dell servers, monitors, docks, and other accessories to help boost productivity. Plus, enjoy free shipping on everything. Do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL for business specials during Dell's Summer Sale Event.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Rising home values mean that you could have more home equity than you might imagine. And if you're considering a refi, an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot could save you thousands. Ask about their smart term loans, cash out, and over 300 loan options to find just the right mortgage loan for you. Call now, 866-888-LOAN, or go to loandepot.com. Loan Depot, where home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03 right now. We do have partly cloudy skies in Columbia. We are expecting the rain to continue today throughout the afternoon, on and off, and some of it could be heavy at times. Not expecting anything severe, at least not in mid-Missouri today, although we do have some flood warnings to touch on here in a moment. Good morning, and here are some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. We just got an update from the National Weather Service in St. Louis as well as Kansas City, and that flash flood warning for Cooper County has now been extended. Originally, it was going to expire here a few minutes ago, but they have extended Cooper County as well as Howard and Saline now until 1:30 today. So that means those of you in Boonville, Pilot Grove, Bunston, towns like Marshall, as well as Fayette, that flash flood warning remains in effect now until 1:30 today. More of the heavier rain has been off to our west as well as to our north. We'll keep you posted on that. There are no watches in terms of weather coverage at this time. Meantime, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation tells 93.9 The Eagle that the investigation into Friday's murder of a Columbia Rockbridge High School employee at a rest stop near Chattanooga remains active and ongoing at this time. 30-year-old Micah McElmurray was arraigned Tuesday in Tennessee, and he remains jailed without bond this morning for the murder of his father, 55-year-old Michael Woods. Woods was the Rockbridge homeschool communicator. We're told by court officials in Tennessee the suspect's bond hearing is scheduled for today. This rest stop is located on I-24. It is near Chattanooga, roughly 15 miles from the Tennessee and Georgia border. Witness issues have delayed a Columbia murder trial that was set to begin next week at the Boone County Courthouse.
18-year-old Isaiah Jackson is charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder for the July 2020 deaths of 2 people near Columbia's Volunteer Drive and Grace Lane. Court documents indicate the killings happened after fireworks went astray and landed near a neighboring home that Jackson was at. Boone County Assistant Prosecutor Spencer Smith tells 93.9 The Eagle that the prosecution has been unable to subpoena multiple essential witnesses to move forward with the case. Don Luzader, Zimmer News Network.
All right, thank you so much, Don. The Missouri Senate Economic Development Committee chair would like to see the governor call a September special session over the issue of sportsbook, which is sports wagering, to coincide with the annual veto session. That takes place in September. Warrensburg State Senator Denny Hoskins, who chairs economic development, says sportsbook would help fully fund Missouri's veterans' homes and also cemeteries across the state.
The most recent and last compromise that we offered, all the professional sports teams were in agreement, and they wanted to accept the deal. And one of the casinos wanted to accept the deal as well. Unfortunately, the casinos decided that they did not want to accept the deal.
He'd also like to see VLTs included in a special session call. The senator says Sportsbook would allow you to bet on the Chiefs, the Cardinals, the Royals, Mizzou, any other professional or college sports teams. Again, veto session September the 14th. And speaking of Mizzou football, a July the 12th bench trial is now set for former Mizzou offensive coordinator Derek Dooley's lawsuit against the UM Board of Curators. Boone County Circuit Judge Brooke Jacobs scheduling the bench trial late yesterday afternoon. He says witnesses can appear via WebEx or in person. Derek Dooley was Mizzou's offensive coordinator in 2018 and 2019. He was let go when the head coach at the time, Barry Odom, was let go. His lawsuit says his contract states if he was terminated without cause, he'd be paid his monthly salary of $77,000 a month for up to 12 months. Total amount $925,000. Derek Dooley's lawsuit says he has not been paid that amount. This will be a one-day bench trial. Again, the judge is overseeing the trial. There is no jury in a bench trial. It's just Judge Jacobs. UM system spokesman Christian Basie told 93.9 The Eagle last week that he cannot comment on pending litigation. Our news is brought to you in this 8 o'clock hour by the Callaway Bank. Life can be unpredictable, but your bank shouldn't be 7 days a week. Text or call the Callaway Bank. It's with you for the moments that matter. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:07. Turning our attention now to sports. The Cardinals winning their game yesterday against San Diego last night. 10-inning sacrifice fly from Albert in the 10th inning as they beat San Diego 3-2 at Busch Stadium. That happened in the 10th inning last night. Cardinals now 28-21. Wainwright really impressive on the mound. Pitched a lot of innings last night. Unfortunately, the game went in extra innings. Cardinals go for the sweep today against San Diego. First pitch here on the Eagle, 12:15 at Busch Stadium. Businessman special. Tom Ackerman pregame here on the Eagle, 93.9 at 11:20. Cleveland beat the Royals last night, 8-3. They play again today. And in high school baseball, Final Four, St. E, St. Elizabeth, Russellville have captured championships in high school baseball, classes 1 and 2, respectively. As Rod Smith said, great performance by the Show Me Conference. They're very athletic, very small, but one of those players at St. E that Rod profiled last night is going to be playing next year at Mizzou. That's how Class 1 player. That tells you something about how good their team is. 4 state championships. St. Elizabeth Mo. Southern Boone tries to get one. They'll play in the semifinals today if the weather cooperates against Marshall. That game starts in Ozark at 1. Our news time, 8:09. John, thanks. Right now, rain, 63. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people, midmohires.com. It's 8:09. Again, a quick reminder that the flash flood warning has been extended. Cooper, Howard, Saline counties until 1:30 this afternoon. Be careful. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
What are you going to find on Grind? Everybody knows everybody, all his dirty underwear's out there, all his dirty laundry's out there. So, what are you going to do? So, yeah, he is leading this thing. Schmidt is in second. Vicky is not. She claims that she's statistically tied with Greitens, but Schmidt's in second. Vicky's third. I'm in fourth.
That's Congressman Billy Long on the show just about half an hour ago here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. That's one of the things we do. Listen, I get some of our local politicians, I get to know them, and I include Congresswoman Hartzler and Billy Long, even though he's not a local politician, been knowing him before he ever decided to run for the U.S. Senate. You get to know these people, and personally, you like them. Professionally, don't tell anybody this. I don't like talking to politicians that are campaigning for office. Do you? I mean,
they're more fun when they're done campaigning and when they're out of
Yeah.
office.
But it's just like, and there's no personal knock on anybody, and it's important to have a couple of conversations to pass that along to whoever it is that's listening to Wake Up Columbia. We have a lot of new listeners right now. I mean, we get inundated every day. Hey, you've got newer people listening to your show. Hey, I've got a regretful Biden voter that tuned into your show, and that's one of the things we've been trying to do is explain, okay, how these things affect us here in mid-Missouri. People aren't just complaining about the president because that's what happens with every president in history. You complain about the president. We are not just complaining. We're trying to show you here are the issues. This is what it means for you when this guy does this in the White House. Here's how it affects you and your family. So we're getting that all the time. So understand, we're not, I'll speak for myself. You know, somebody campaigning for office once or twice, okay, I know where you are. Here's a news story I'd like you to comment that will help shape my opinion on whether or not I will vote for you, especially in primaries. You look at everybody in our U.S. Senate, and I don't know where you are with this right now, 874-9390. Have you decided Schmidt, Hartzler, Greitens, who's leading two latest polls, Schatz, McCloskey, who has gone to Billy Long, in our conversation with him right here on Wake Up Columbia, complimented Mark McCloskey. He says, I think Mark McCloskey's been to more events than I have. He has been at everything.
In a suit, all the time in that suit.
Yeah.
It's a suit. I mean, really, he does. He was, and he always does interviews. But yeah, I noticed the congressman seemed frustrated. That was the biggest thing that stuck out. But, you know, I thought Rudy Keller did, a fine job of recapping. They were really all over the map last night in terms of what they were talking about. Senator Schatz called not allegedly, he's quoted as saying that Vladimir Putin is a thug. War's responsible for the high fertilizer prices. McCloskey really says the U.S. shouldn't be supporting Ukrainian defense. He's worried about what's happening here locally. But some of what the congressman said there about Rudy's, and Rudy reported a lot of that, but it's in Rudy's article about that. Basically, with the issue there about Schmidt.
So what Long said is that he was told by, and I just confirmed this with Rudy Keller, who used to work for the Columbia Daily Tribune, now writes for the Independent, does some good work. Politically, Rudy and I disagree, but he does good work. So Billy Long was saying, Rudy said that apparently Greitens, the only person that Greitens would debate. He wouldn't debate Hartzler, wouldn't debate McCloskey, wouldn't debate Schatz or Billy Long. The one candidate he would debate, Eric Schmidt.
Yes, and essentially that's correct. Schmidt, this is according to Rudy's story, and I saw the tweets last night. It said Schmidt doesn't want to share the stage with a crowd of competitors. A quote campaign spokesman Rich Christmer wrote in an email. This is kind of two sentences here to explain this. He says, this is Christmer, Attorney General Schmidt has already done 2 debates with the field of candidates, including one in Southwest Missouri. This is a 2-candidate race, and Eric Schmidt looks forward to the opportunity to debate Eric Greitens. End of quote.
All right. 874-9390. I'm wondering, where are you on this Senate race? 2 recent polls showing, and by the way, legitimate polls for what polls are worth, shows Eric Greitens in lead off the text, 874-9390. Branden, your image is frozen on YouTube. That's because I look better that way.
I mean,
this is my good side. I'm a chubby, balding white guy with a peanut face.
I'm still good.
Stephanie's still good.
It's only ever your camera that freezes. That tells me something.
By the way, Marina Diaz, reporter who's overcome a lot to become a TV journalist, reporter at ABC 17. I loved her story in here on Feel Good Friday when she said, and she told this story, she's very honest and open about somebody told her that she had a face for radio, that she shouldn't be in TV, and she hesitated to tell the story.
Because she was like, well, you all are in radio. And it was insane because literally before she said that, I was sitting here looking at like her face and her features and her perfect skin and was thinking, people in TV are so beautiful.
By the way, you can hear that entire conversation by going to Friday's Wake Up Columbia podcast. Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time, or anywhere you download your podcast. 874-9390. Rick, welcome into Wake Up Columbia. Do you know where you are in the Senate primary yet? Schmidt, Long, Greitens, Schatz?
I am.
Okay.
I am I'm now with Mr. Long.
Okay.
But the poll that you did, that you're talking about Greitens leading, isn't that one that was taken in eastern Missouri, the St. Louis area?
No, there was one that was done by a St. Louis area TV station, but it was not just St. Louis voters.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm thinking that because he kind of resides there somewhat, that he's going to have more support there than anywhere else.
Yeah, it could be hard telling with, and that's why I always say, and I get, you never know, and that's why I always like to preface with, for what polls are worth. But that's what they're showing. Do you know where you are? So you're Billy Long. How come Billy Long?
Well, because I used to think that Eric Schmidt would be the most honest and go to D.C. and not become part of the establishment. But now I see Billy Long is the one most likely to not go to D.C. and then turn his back on us, like all the rest of them have done. I'm going to say, except maybe Josh Hawley, my jury on him is still out, whether he's going to become part of the establishment. The establishment in D.C. is become one party against we the people, and it's horrible.
I do know, as you talk about the establishment, and I don't know everything that Hawley and Blunt agree on or disagree on. I know they both apparently agree to some extent on potential red flag gun laws as it relates to gun control issues. Rick, thank you for the call. We appreciate you being a part of Wake Up Columbia this morning on 93.9 The Eagle. And really, here's the thing, and that's why I thought it was important. I was talking to somebody who was at this U.S. Senate candidate forum last night in Springfield, and I did say earlier in the show, I want to make sure I'm correcting it again. Hartzler wasn't there. She had a fundraiser in Kansas City. Josh Hawley was supposed to be there. He ended up not going. There's a fundraiser. There's a private fundraiser, which is happening here in town today. And I'm told that Josh Hawley should be at this one today in Columbia. So if you are going to that private fundraiser for Congresswoman Hartzler, here's the thing. And somebody told me, and we've said this before, I think we say it almost every time, with a Senate race or any other races, we've asked our 4th Congressional District candidates, okay, Taylor Burks, you're pretty good. Rick Bratton, you're pretty good. Even Sarah Walsh was in the race. You're pretty good. You check all of the boxes, but what makes you different or better than this candidate? And you start to get into the nuance thing. Well, I've never been elected to office. I haven't served a whole lot of time in an elected office. That's my benefit. And then somebody else could say, well, I've served in the Missouri State Legislature, and so I know a little bit of how the sausage is made. Puts me off to a running start. So everybody's got these little things. So it's always interesting to ask from time to time, just where are you on this race? 874-9390, 874-9390. And also, while we're talking about Blunt and Hawley in D.C., we've learned this morning Supreme Court and a lot of other things kind of getting in the way as it relates to news, but apparently clerks, SCOTUS, they're wanting their phone records. We want records. They want to figure out what's happening with that leak. So I know that's been kind of sitting in the third row seat in my SUV here as far as what's front and center and things that are affecting us. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because think about it, if this were happening to you, let's say you're a clerk with a Supreme Court justice and you ain't had nothing to do with anything. You didn't leak that Roe v. Wade stuff. And they're saying, well, we want your phone records. I think my first reaction would be, no. And I don't know, maybe when you become a law clerk, it says, hey, for any reason, because of what we deal with, if we want your work phone records, we can get, I don't know what happens. I've never.
Yeah, I mean, having a job, especially of that caliber, is a privilege, not a right. And so, I mean, like, if you're sitting at work right now and you're using your work email to email things you shouldn't be, and you don't think your employer isn't looking at your email, you're wrong, because your employer has access to your email. Now, on personal cell phones, it might be a little bit different, but I'm certain in heightened situations that you give up certain privileges by virtue of your choice to take certain jobs.
And even if you're doing it from your personal stuff, you can set, and this happened just the other night. I have to tell you the story off air.
Okay.
Sent the wrong text to the wrong person.
Not again.
Yeah. Have I done that before?
Yes.
I set off a bank's email security once because most banks, like, you can't email, like, too many numbers, and you can't email, I guess you can't email cuss words. And and I was emailing something. It was about a community organization, and I was really excited, actually, because someone who typically didn't pay their dues had enough confidence in us, and they finally paid their dues. And I emailed back an expletive.
Wait, what was the word you said?
I'm at this point, I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, but my friend was working at a bank, and I can email basically whatever I want, but apparently it set off whatever, and she got a friendly note from the IT department about my colorful language or something.
So you got her in trouble?
She wasn't necessarily in trouble, but she just said, like, hey, if you could refrain from emailing curse words to my work email, that'd be great.
Okay, so I did just get a text from somebody from the Department of Revenue. Says you have done that to me. Texted the wrong person.
Oh, no.
Huh. All right, let's move forward. Coming up, Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell, business news with that little... Does fast food stuff, does taking a menu off, taking an item off the menu, would that count as kind of business news? Because I thought Hannah was going to cover this in What's Hot with Hannah.
I like this.
Been all over this story.
Yes.
All right, we will do that. That's coming up in the Morning Bell. Business news, a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. We'll do that about 5 minutes from now here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9TheEagle.com. Hey, man, thanks for listening. Please know that we appreciate you.